Hey guys, I got some amazing build to show, and I know that Corrupting Fever is a bit on the meta side, but for me this isn't about the Corrupting Fever, but it is about how to make a different Galvanic Arrow build, because I really like Galvanic Arrow when combined with the Barrage Support Gem. So this is my third, I guess, iteration. In the past I made Galvanic Arrow with the Pure Lighting with the Lunaris prototype, and I love that build so much. I would actually recommend you to watch that video if you wanna see our Galvanic Arrow builds for comparison. I'm gonna link it somewhere in the video description or in the corner. And then I also did Poison Galvanic Arrow because I was using Kill Rain as a main weapon in both of those iterations, and the Poison was a bit weaker and not as pleasant. So I just kept thinking, league after league, what else I can do with the Galvanic Arrow, and now we got Corrupting Fever, which is the main focus of this. Well, not okay. I guess it is still a main focus of this build because I am doing most of my damage, actually over 3 million DPS, just from the Corrupting Fever. And combined, this build has over 4 million DPS. Galvanic Arrow is just to apply the Corrupting Fever. In less than half a second, I can apply maximum Corrupting Fever stacks. It also procs Exsanguinate from the Asenath Chant helmet. It does have like 2.5 thousand life gain on per second from the life gain on hit. It doesn't have too many conditional things. I don't even need to use flasks for clear speed, and the clear speed is so good. I love this build so much. Flies through tier 16 content like nothing. The only two things that I would like to still improve is the tankiness is not that great, so until you get decent enough life pool, you may get one-shotted from time to time. And another thing is movement speed. I am clearing so fast, but I cannot move fast enough sometimes. So you could actually get Tailwind boots, but that would require more expensive items. By the way, talking about the budget, it's not very cheap build. It's not very cheap build, and I guess that's a good example what happens when you actually invest more into the build. The build just becomes good. The budget for this build was above 10 exalts, but I think below 15 exalts. So somewhere between 10 and 15 exalts. A more budget version would still be around 10 exalts, so you can't really do a very budget version of this. Well, I guess you can, but in the end it wouldn't really do so well. This build works for pretty much everything. It cannot do physical reflect maps, but other than that it can do no regen, no leech. It can do all the other mods except for, like I said, physical reflect. Also this is Gladiator, so I do have speed from challenger charges. I do apply bleed, I do apply maim with the Gladiator. I also have explosions, which don't always happen because you don't always apply bleed in time before enemies die, and enemies die very fast. And also I get some mitigation. The only mitigation that I have is through the endurance charge, and also at maximum endurance charge I get an extra 10% reduced physical damage taken. And that's pretty much it. That's all my mitigation. So the build plays like just don't get hit kind of build, but it works well enough because enemies just drop dead like nothing. You just spray Galvanic Arrow into the directions of enemies and they just drop dead. And I'm also gonna show some clips. The build just sometimes randomly just gets one-shotted. I don't really understand why sometimes it looks like there's nothing, just dead. So I'm also gonna show deaths, not just how amazing this build looks. So I'm gonna talk more about this build, how I made it. I'm also gonna talk about how to craft the bow, because there is a bit of trickery involved, and the bow itself costed me around 8 exalts to craft. It could actually be even better. However, the more plus physical skill gems you get, the higher the mana cost is gonna be for the Corrupting Fever. And currently it costs almost 5.5 thousand life to activate the Corrupting Fever. You basically activate it once, and then you can maintain, well, refresh duration by spending life with other skills. And don't confuse this with the life tab. Life tab has nothing to do with this. You need to spend life. In fact, you need to spend 305 life in my case to refresh its duration. The issue is that Galvanic Arrow, even on a 6th link, only costs 54 mana. So I basically have to attack 5 times, 6 times to even refresh the Corrupting Fever. And when enemies all die in just one hit and you keep moving, sometimes you don't get to refresh it automatically, and from time to time you're still gonna have to activate it. And many of the deaths were because I used the Corrupting Fever, dropped to very low life, and enemies hit me at the right time before I could hit the life flask to refill my life. By the way, for life flask, it's very easy to use, very convenient to use the instant recovery when on low life, because you are losing like 90% of your life when you use Corrupting Fever. So immediately after that, you hit the life flask and boom, back to like 60-70% of your life. So I'm gonna talk more about this build, how I crafted the bow, about the support, skills, and passive tree. I'm gonna go over my other items first before talking about the bow. So I am using Asenath Chant, and this is for Exsanguinate. By the way, it's only level 20, and all the time I was using Chain, so you could get even more damage. Body armor, I was trying to figure out what else to use. You could go with +1 maximum curses, you could go with the frenzy on hit. There are different versions, so just try to adapt to whatever you want to do, but I wanted an extra way of generating enduring charges because I don't really have mitigation, and I do have enduring cry on the left click on instant cast, but it does not maintain power enduring charges reliably enough. So for that reason I went with the body armor. When I get hit, I get 1 enduring charge every second. The quiver Maloney's mechanism was around 60 years, I believe. Now it's around 80 years. And Asenath Chant was around 1 exalt, yeah, around 1 exalt. So Maloney's mechanic triggers a socketed bow skill when you attack with a bow. So when I'm attacking with Galvanic Arrow, I'm also shooting Frenzy with GMP and also Ensnaring Arrow. So Ensnaring Arrow is only to slow enemies down and basically nothing else, because Galvanic Arrow doesn't really do damage. The Galvanic Arrow damage is irrelevant. So Frenzy just gives me, generates Frenzy charges, gives me attack speed, gives damage for the Corrupting Fever. Amulet was expensive part as well. If you want Amulet, and by the way I needed Dexterity and Intelligence. If you want Amulet with +1 physical skill gems, and Pride has a reduced reservation, as you can see I barely have enough mana, but I'm not spending any mana. So for that you may actually have to pay quite a bit. I believe I paid like 2 exalts for this. Yeah, it's around 2 exalts, just these two mods. Anointed Growth and Decay, which costed 1 golden oil, so it's also pretty expensive to get that mod. So the amulet, let's say like 3 exalts. Body armor and bow I managed to link myself, which I got pretty lucky, but I did spend quite a bit on fusings. I actually still needed Dexterity. I needed quite a lot of Dexterity, but on rings there's nothing special. Well, one of the rings, Portia's Mark, is actually very nice. Portia's Mark is actually better than Vulnerability. Vulnerability is only better against normal enemies, because bosses do not reduce Mark effect, they only reduce Hex's effect. And Portia's Mark is a curse and not a hex. So bosses do not reduce, they do not have less effect of marks. So Portia's Mark has, enemies have like 20% reduced physical damage mitigation. That includes damage over time, and also Portia's Mark gives you life and mana on hit. But if you got good vulnerability ring, you may as well use that. But like I said, rings nothing special, just like either vulnerability, Portia's Mark, and just life resistance as whatever else you may need. Gloves can have physical damage over time multiplier, and that's the main thing that you want. You may need some intelligence or whatever, dexterity. Boots, just massive life resistances. Belt as well, life resistances. For jewels, you're gonna want to stack like jewels could be a bit expensive. You're gonna want to stack jewels with percentage life, and then either global physical damage, increased damage over time, generic damage, or physical damage over time multiplier. Now the bow. This bow is pretty expensive as it is, and I'm gonna show you how to craft it and how to use Craft of Exile to emulate the crafting process. So if we go to craftofexile.com, click emulator, then click create new item, basically select the two-handed, select the bow, then you can select the bows that you want to craft. And for this I actually wanted the low dex requirement bow because I don't have a lot of dex. So ideally I wanted this bow, but I just could not get it for the reasonable price, so I went with this. Movement speed would be nice, but you don't need too much attack speed. It doesn't matter attack speed too much. So let's say you select the bow. You can select the item level. This doesn't really matter all that much as long as it is 86 plus. well, that doesn't matter. Then you can select the influence. I actually went with the Warlord's influence because you get more things and you can guarantee an extra good modifier when you slam an Exile. So let's say you select Warlord's mark and then proceed. Now you can see the normal mod pools and then the bench pools, suffixes and prefixes. So first you wanna roll damage over time multiplier, which is suffix, I believe. You want to roll this one. We add that. Goes up to 35, I believe, right? Yeah, up to 35. And I got this one with trash over mods, and I managed to annul it all the way to only damage over time multiplier. But I'm gonna show you what the ideal bow would look like. So you want damage over time multiplier and then some other suffix. You actually don't want socketed bow gems. I'm gonna explain in a moment why. And you also don't necessarily want socketed gems. If you get lucky to hit like that, great, perfect. But if not, then let's say you don't have that. Ideally, you would not want any other prefix if you can get socketed gems while crafting. So you want some other suffix. Now the thing is, you want actually two suffixes and one empty suffix. I basically had this one, but it was rare, so I couldn't really craft anything. So I actually crafted aspect of the spider. You can actually craft any aspect. You're not gonna be using the aspect because when you craft aspect, it doesn't count as crafted mode and it fills as suffix. So let's just add some aspect. Imagine you have that now. Now you have to go to bench, suffixes, and craft cannot roll attack modifiers. You craft that. Now you can select. You're basically gonna slam an Exalt. You take an Exalt, you slam, and two things are gonna happen. It's either gonna be increased damage over time, not multiplier, increased damage over time from Warlord's prefix. If you look at Warlord's prefixes, it's either gonna hit this one, or you're gonna hit +1 to socketed gems. So we slam once, we get socketed gems, we slam again, we get increased damage over time. Perfect. Now we need to remove the cannot roll attack modifiers from the bench. So we go to benchcraft, we remove that modifier for one scouring, and now we go to bench prefixes +2 socketed support gems. +2 socketed support gems. You craft that for 2 exalts. The cannot roll attack modifiers is 1 exalt craft, and 2 socketed support gems is 2 exalt craft. As you can see, 1 exalt craft and support gem is 2 exalts craft. So you're spending 3 exalts just on the meta craft. Well, that's actually not counting the exalt slams, and then you slam 2 exalts. So you're spending 4 exalts just on the adding mods. Sorry, that's actually 5 exalts on meta crafts and on slamming exalts. And from there you can still get an open. You still got an open suffix. So you could use Leo to slam another exalt and get something like fire arrest, but I actually lucked out and got culling strike. So that's how I crafted my bow. This was my first time crafting a bow as well, so it was a learning experience for me as well. So let's talk about the other support gems. In the bow I am using Corrupting Fever, obviously, and Corrupting Fever gets so much from this. Look at this. It's level 21, gets +1 from item, gets +1 from global, gets +6 from supports. So you want +1 socketed gems and then +2 socketed support gems, so that gives +3 to empower. So you are getting level 7 empower. And by the way, level 4 empower is around 1.2 exalts, I believe. Yeah, 1.3 exalts. So you are getting +6 levels from empower. So then you got brutality, you got efficacy, empower, like I said, life tap, and swift affliction. Now life tap obviously increases the mana cost just a lot. Look, 5.5 thousand life cost without the life tap goes to 2.7 thousand life cost. You could use like less duration, but it would reduce duration too much and you wouldn't get as much damage. So you definitely want life tap. For that reason, you want to link our activable skills, everything with the life tap, to get the life tap buff. You will gain the life tap buff when you click the Corrupting Fever, but you will want to maintain it. Now the Galvanic Arrow is Divergent. You don't need Divergent, and Divergent basically essentially just gives you like this cone starts a bit further away from you. if I show you a normal Galvanic Arrow, the cone basically starts from me, and the quality does give projectile speed. By the way, projectile speed is very important for Galvanic Arrow. So you kind of want to experiment with the divergent Galvanic Arrow quality. The more quality you're gonna add, the further away it's gonna be from you, but you may not want it to start too far away. So I'm sticking with like 13% quality. For me, that kind of works. So it is linked with the barrage support gem. That's what's giving more hits per second basically, because every projectile, if I do this, it shoots one, it hits only two times like this. But if I add barrage support gem, it hits many more times because each projectile also produces the cone. So since I am shooting 6 projectiles, I'm hitting 12 times basically, just with the one tap of barrage, and that already applies maximum corrupting fever stacks. Galvanic Arrow, barrage support gem, faster projectiles just increase the distance of the Galvanic Arrow. It doesn't look like it increases much, but it is still worth using. Then Anomalous Life Tap level 1. You don't want it to level up because it's not for damage. This is just to activate Life Tap as easy as possible. Anomalous increases the life cost, and you want to increase the life cost of the Galvanic Arrow. Then faster attacks to make it smoother, and life gain on hit because it also has 150% cost multiplier, so it works very well. You could experiment and see, maybe you're gonna prefer some other support gems for Galvanic Arrow, or you could just use Rain of Arrows. I actually haven't tried Rain of Arrows, but you could very well use Rain of Arrows or some other bow skill, as long as it hits multiple times per second. I mean multiple times per attack. Then let's see, I already said Exsanguinate, Chain, Brutality, Efficacy. In the boost I got Enduring Cry, Second Wind, Life Tap, and Dash. So my Dash and Enduring Cry is linked with the Life Tap. So whatever I click, I will gain the Life Tap basically. And the Life Tap is level 1 just to gain the buff as easy as possible. And this will also help me spend life to easier sustain Corrupting Fever. In the gloves I got War Banner, Pride, and then Flesh and Stone linked with Maim. Flesh and Stone, you need either Flesh and Stone or Blood and Sands to switch stances, because this is Gladiator. Let's talk about the passive tree. So this is Gladiator, and for the Challenger charges, by default you're going to be in Blood Stance, but the Blood Stance only generates Challenger charges when you hit a rare or unique enemy. So for map clear, you're going to be running in the Sand Stance, which is not going to give you damage, but enemies are going to be blinded. Nearby enemies blinded, and you're going to be taking less damage from enemies that are not nearby while in Sand Stance. So it does give some mitigation while clearing. And for bossing, you're gonna switch to Blood Stance. And then I think I first went with the Challenger charges and then went this route to get the Bleed Explosions. By the way, this one also gives 20% more physical damage over time, which does affect the Corrupting Fever. And then finally got this one. You gain more physical damage while at maximum frenzy charges, and it is very easy to sustain maximum frenzy charges with this. And Enduring charges is a bit trickier, but you'll get used to it. I mean, it's not like you're gonna be taking this, right? Then from the passive skill tree, as you can see, I got 2 large cluster jewels and 4 medium cluster jewels. So they aren't too expensive. By the way, on the large cluster jewels, I wanted increased physical damage, and also went with the 25% increased effect. So instead of getting 12 increased physical damage per point, I am getting 15% physical damage. And the large nodes don't really matter too much. If you can afford a good large nodes, definitely take those. If not, then don't worry about it. You may also want to get dexterity as well on the large ones, so it's easier to get enough dex. I mean, I'm level 92, I'm started taking more nodes from here because there's nothing else to take, so you could get dexterity from here or here if you need. Now on medium ones, make sure you get physical damage over time multiplier and not like cold damage over time multiplier, but because those can roll the same dot multiplier nodes. And you want either exposure therapy, brush with death, or you also can get rend. And I believe there was something else. So you basically want damage over time multiplier on medium jewels. Brush with death works very well because when you kill enemies, you're gonna be getting life on kill, percentage life on kill. And exposure therapy is also very nice against caustic grounds basically. And then yeah, the remaining jewels you fill up with the life, physical damage, increased physical damage over time, increased global piece damage, whatever stats you need. You're also gonna want call to arms if you're gonna be using Enduring Cry. Unwavering Stance, you're also gonna want that. By the way, for leveling, I think I just rushed through here all the way, picking up some life, and then went straight here. Didn't take these early on, and went here this way, started taking the physical damage, and then started using at around level 45 started using the Corrupting Fever, because until then I was just using some buff skill to level up. I think I would just actually level up with the Galvanic Arrow, but it wasn't very smooth until 45 when I started picking up the physical damage over time multiplier nodes. And by the way, Asenath Chant is also level 45, so basically that's when you can transition to using Corrupting Fever. And for Corrupting Fever, I actually was using a 5 link because I could not activate a 6 link Corrupting Fever because it was requiring too much life. You want to reduce the mana cost. This reduces cost of skills even for life. So you want to get these because otherwise it's gonna cost over 6,000 life, and you don't want that. But by doing that, you also lower the Galvanic Arrow cost. And as you can see, Corrupting Fever itself has over 3 million DPS. That's at 10 stacks, which is very quickly applicable. So yeah, I'm gonna include path for building import code in the description as always. I haven't really finished planning the next build, so I can't really tell what the next build is gonna be like. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.